All right, today we're going to look at the ruler. We're going to look at measurements. We're going to try and make this as simple as possible so that way when you need to use the ruler, you're not struggling and spending more time trying to figure the ruler out than working on the project you're trying to work on, right? The ruler is very important in art, not only to make a straight line if you're working on a project that needs a straight line, for instance, 1 point perspective, 2 point perspective, any kind of perspective that you need a straight line, very important. Just creating a basic border, which is something that we'll talk about as well. You need to be able to use the ruler, and it shouldn't stress you out, and it shouldn't make you feel inept. You should be able to grab the ruler and make whatever measurement your teacher's asking you to make, or if I'm asking you to make something and you're following along with one of my videos, it should be something simple so it's not preventing you from moving further with the artwork, okay? So what we're gonna start with is just the simple measurements. I'm gonna try and zoom in here so we can see these measurements a little clearer. This is a metal ruler, and I like the metal rulers for the simple fact over the wood ones, because the wood ones have a little bit more of a bow to them, and a lot of them have kind of a metal strip that's inside of them that ends up getting ripped out because students will bang them against the desk or against each other, and plus they can become sharp, they get dented very easily, and then your straight line is not so straight. So I like the metal rulers. You have to be careful that you don't bend this too much because it will permanently crease, and if you bend it too far, you will never get it back to normal, and your lines can suffer for it. So let's look. We're just going to go to the 8 here. We're going to start with the 8. So this is the 8, correct? Okay, and then we're going to go to the 9. This is our 9, all right? So this is 1 inch. We've got 1 full inch right here. So in this, we want to, let's do the most basic. If I say make a mark at 8.5 inches, where are you making that mark? Okay, where are you going to make that mark with your ruler, or using your ruler in order to make your straight line and be successful? Okay, so we've got 1 inch here between the 8 and the 9. We need the 1/2 inch. So this is our 1/2 inch right here. So that's 1/2. Okay, this is our 3/4 mark. So we've got 3/4 here. Okay, and then we've got our 1/4 inch here, 1/4. Okay, so we've got 0 to 1, and this is our 1/4 inch mark, our 1/2 inch mark, and our 3/4 inch mark. There are also more lines in this. So so if you think of this in halves, that's the easiest way, it's the way I think about it. If you think about it in halves, what's 1/2 of 1/4? And this is sort of backwards, but 1/2 of 1/4 is 1/8. So there's a 1/8 right here. And then if you think about it this way, if you've got 1/8 here, this would be 2/8, and this would be 3/8. So you've got 3/8 right there. And then this would be 4/8. This one is 5/8. Okay, so 5/8. And then 6/8. And this is 7/8. Okay, this is probably as far as you need to go, and this might even be too far for doing basic art functions and basic art projects. You don't need to go too much further than that. If you're doing woodworking and things like that, you might need to know the whole gamut of numbers and lines, and these lines aren't even complete because this can actually go all the way up to 1/32 or down to 1/32. So, and it can go all the way up to 31/32, which would be in between here. So we're not going that far. That's too intense for what we need to use this for. So your basic functions, you need to focus on the 1/2 for the most part, the 1/4, the 3/4. Okay, those are your basic, most common numbers that you're going to have to use on the ruler. Okay, so focus on those. Your half is the most important. Occasionally you have to use the 1/4 or the 3/4, but half is probably going to be your most important. So if I'm looking at this, this is the 9, this is the 10, so half of 9, between 9 and 10, halfway between is 9.5. Okay, if I ask you to go to 9.5, you're going to 9 and then jump up a half. Okay, so that's the basic functions of the ruler. So we shouldn't have any difficulty now. We understand how the ruler works, where the measurements work, or where the measurements are. So we have the 0 line, if this is going to be our 0. Okay, let's scratch that 9 if this is our 0. We have our 1/4 inch, which is between the 0 and the half. So half of a half is a 1/4. Then you have your 1/2 inch mark. Then between the half and the 1, let's call this a 1, you have your 3/4. Okay, so you've got 0, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, and 1. Okay, those are your basic functions. Again, we can go further with the 1/8, 3/8, 5/8, 7/8, but right now that's not our concern. Our concern is just making sure that you really know where a 1/4, half, and a 3/4 is. Okay? All right. Thank you very much.